Welcome to the Real Estate Pros Show, where we interview real estate investing professionals from coast to coast, as well as the service providers that serve the real estate investing industry. Our goal is simple: share what's working now to help you improve and scale your business to the next level and meet the pros that can help you get there. Real Estate Pros is powered by Investor Fuel, America's leader in helping real estate investors and professionals build the business you need to live the life you've always dreamed of. Let's start today's show. Property insurance for real estate investors doesn't have to be difficult, but it does need to be there to protect you when you need it. MyInvestorInsurance.com not only provides insurance at 15 to 30% cheaper than traditional agencies, it's built specifically for real estate investors like you. You can set up an account in about 2 minutes, get quotes on properties, turn on and turn off insurance for your fix and flip or rental properties in around 2 minutes without having to talk to anyone directly, all through our portal. There's no better way or faster way to make sure you've got the coverage you need to protect you, and no more lengthy policies either. Once you're set up, you're billed monthly and prorated by the day for however long your policy is active. It's powered by MSI, the third largest independent MGA, with 1.5 million customers and more than $1 billion in cumulative premiums written. Get set up today in about 2 minutes at myinvestorinsurance.com/fuel.
All right, guys, welcome back to the show. I'm your host, Brett McCollum, and I'm here today with Dave Seymour. And today we're going to be talking about going from a firefighter to reality television and to ultimately to private equity and kind of how that all fits together. But before we do, guys, at Investor Fuel, we help real estate investors, service providers, and real estate entrepreneurs to 5X their businesses, allow them to build the business that they've always wanted, and also allow them to build the lives they've always dreamed of. Without further ado, Dave, how are you, man?
I'm good, brother. How are you, Brett?
Man, doing good, doing good. Great catching up with you pre-show.
Yeah.
We're gonna have a good show for you guys today. Dave's got a ton of value that we were talking pre-show, like we're ready to deliver at a high level, and nobody better in the business than Dave Seymour. So, man, Dave, catch us up to speed, man. If people have lived under a rock and they don't know who you are, give us some, give us a little history, give us a little background. Who's Dave Seymour?
Yeah. Good start. First of all,
No
people
pressure.
no pressure. You can handle the truth. It's always interesting. I get invited to do podcasts and, keynote speaks and all of that stuff. And it really boils back down to my days on the reality TV show, Flippin' Boston, aired on A&E. Your opening line is, for people who have been living under a rock. Well, there's a lot of people under rocks. I ain't that cool. All right. I'm not the cool kid on the block anymore. But it's been an interesting journey, to say the very least. Just like you put in the little mini intro there, from firefighter to reality TV to private equity. It's very hard to find some lineage in there that makes any kind of sense.
Uh-huh.
So what that tells you is life is pretty cool. It's pretty crazy. So I'll give you the canned version. Although my accent sounds Bostonian, I'm actually a Londoner. I'm from England. I immigrated to the States in '86 and came from a very blue collar background. My mom was a secretary in a bank. My old man was a heating and air conditioning guy. And it's important to put this context in there because it really is instrumental in my real estate journey, is the programming I received as a young man, right? And the information I received from my father was, work hard, son, don't lie, don't cheat, don't steal, do the right thing, keep your nose clean, keep your head down, be a man among men, just don't ever rise up out of the muck that everybody else is in, because this is where we belong, right? That's the subliminal message that's in there. I guess that didn't really jive too well for me. I ended up coming to the States, followed my first wife over, who was an American citizen. And for the first 3 years I was in the States, I was trying to figure it out. And I was only 23, right? So from 23 to 26, I don't care who you are, there ain't a shit ton of maturity going on right there. And, I'm just throwing crap against the wall, trying to figure out what would stick. Set of circumstances that has me up in New England. I went from West Virginia to New England. And up here, culturally I fit a little better. Like they moved faster, they talked a little faster.
Stop living on an island and join the #1 mastermind in America for professional real estate investors. Investor Fuel is a community of hundreds of the nation's top investors working together to build stronger businesses and better lives. In addition to the amazing community of real estate investors acting as a board of advisors for one another, Investor Fuel members have access to 100% funding on purchase and repairs for our members only, a health insurance program, and benefits and discounts that more than pays for the membership of most of our members, meaning it's actually costing you money to not be a member of Investor Fuel. If you're looking to scale your business and build a business that allows you to live the life of your dreams, please visit investorfuel.com today and book a call with our team.
There was an edge to the Boston
How old
culture.
were you, give or take, around that?
I was 27.
Okay.
27 when I came up here. I'm 50. What am I, 58? I'll be 58 in October, I think. So 27 when I came up to New England. And I liked it because there was an edge, right? It was competitive.
Yeah.
Just community was competitive. I like that about it. And guy says to me, Dave, why don't you get one of those good government jobs? I'm like, I'm in like Flynn. Let's go, baby, go. What am I going to do, right? He goes, what? There's cop, there's firefighter, post office worker. You got all of those jobs up there, Dave. What do you want to do? And I'm like, I don't care. And I'm like, why do I want a job like that? Well, you get a pension. You're working for the city. It's going to be great. You can live the American dream. I'm like, all right. So anyway, I land a job as a firefighter. And what was crucial to me being on this podcast with you today, Brett, was the fact that I brought with me financial illiteracy that I got from my father, right? So now I got a job, and it's a good job. You could screw it up, but it's a pretty good job. But I also have MasterCard and Visa, who were my roommates. And, my wife liked to go out with my roommates, and I like to go out with my roommates, and we'd all go out together. And, I'm keeping up with the Joneses. And after a few years, I find myself $75,000 in unsecured credit card debt. I've refinanced my house going into the crash 3 times. I'm now over leveraged by about 40% of its true market value. I'm losing my home, and I'm working 3 full-time jobs trying to make ends meet. Oof. Firefighter, construction worker, and working retail security nights and weekends. And it was a dark time. It was a very dark season. Yeah, it was dark. And I had kids, yeah. Yeah, I had kids as well.
Add that on top, right?
Yeah, right. And I remember I was down the beach, down Lynn Beach, where I worked as a firefighter in Lynn, Mass. I'm down the beach sitting in my F-250 pickup truck. Ignition's off, and I figure I'm going to go toe-to-toe with God. I'm going to have a chat with the big guy. I'm going to have a little rumble, right? I'm going to have a little rumble with the big guys because I've followed my dad's plan. Lie, cheat, steal, didn't do any of those things. I wasn't an adulterous husband. I followed the plan, and it wasn't working.
Right.
And I remember screaming and shouting at him, and it really was, have you forgotten me? It was almost a biblical moment for me in the sense of the impact that this moment had. It was like, have you forgotten me? Hey, remember me? I'm the guy that does paramedicine. I'm the guy that, fights fires. I'm a good dude. What the, I'm like, it chokes me up thinking about it. And I'm waiting for an answer, right? Ask and you shall receive. Seek and you shall find. Knock and the door will be opened. That's what Scripture told me. And I'm knocking, I'm seeking, I'm screaming, I'm shouting. Yeah. And I'm not feeling it. And I figured that was it. I had to go home and tell the wife that we had to go and the kids had to go. And it is what it was. And we'll see what was next. I turned the ignition in the truck and I listened to BZ Radio, which is local news radio. And at the moment of turning it on, commercial comes on the radio. Teach Me Foreclosure, a free 1.5-hour seminar down in your neck of the woods. Learn how to do real estate with no money down. And I'm like, okay, baby. Thank you, God. I got the plan.
Sign me up. Yep.
Yeah, because I was in construction. I'd seen these investor guys and girls. I'm digging ditches, and they're not. And that's
Right.
where it started. The real estate journey started there. And I went to it was Whitney back in the day. Russ Whitney was the
Russ Whitney,
organization that
yeah.
I signed up for.
If you're looking for consistent, high-quality leads, look no further than Investor Machine. Investor Machine isn't just another agency. It's the most sophisticated, data-driven lead generation company on the planet for real estate investors, and serves the role of being not just a lead generator for your business, but a marketing partner that is helping you achieve your goals along the way. Go to investormachine.com to learn more and schedule a call with our team today.
And on that third day, because they upsell the shit out of you, on the third day, it's $27,000 for 5 classes. This was before the market had truly crashed, like it was on its way.
What year?
2008, 9, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
You know, it hadn't quite hit the fan yet, and there was still a lot of, you know, falsehoods in the marketplace, shall we say, with regard to economy and valuations. So I looked at Mary Beth, my wife, and I'm like, you know, what do you think? And she threw it right back at me like a good salesperson. She said, what do you think? I just said, look, Mary Beth, I can't keep doing what I've been doing. You know, it cost me a prior marriage. It's going to cost this marriage. You know, I can't work 127 hours a week and be your husband, to be a father to the kids. I can't do it.
Yeah.
And she said, okay. She said, it's actually engraved on it like a wedding ring and a plaque somewhere. She said to me, go get him, killer. She said, I'm proud of you and I love you. She said, I'll support you in anything you want to do.
That was all, as a man, that's all we need sometimes.
That's it, dude. That was it. Yeah. She gave me permission to be wealthy. I'm like, what the frick?
I'm like over here tearing up with you on that one, man, because that's yeah.
It's everything.
Keep going. Yeah.
It was everything to me. And
it's not the real estate. It wasn't the construction. It's not the firefighter. It's not the 127 hours a week. It's none of that. It, for me, like, because what you're saying rings home, and I'm probably sure people listening to this too need to hear this. That support that my wife is here for me.
Yeah.
I can do this.
Yeah.
Now,
that's huge. Now I'm bulletproof. The saying was, Daddy's going to go kill the bacon, right? I'm going to go kill some dinosaurs today. Yeah. And I'm going to keep my little boys safe. I'm going to take great care of my wife because she took great care of me. I used to say that she's the rock that I get to stand on so I could look cool. But at the end of the day, she's right by my side. That's how I get to look cool. You know what I mean? Absolutely. There's no hierarchy there. I mean, she has the toughest job in the world, which is raising small boys to be good men. That's a hard job. That's a hard job. But that's where it started, brother. We went down the seminar circle, and I've got these classes, and I'm doing it like a firefighter. No holds barred, all in. If we're going, we're freaking going. There's no second guessing it. There's no let's analyze this for a little while longer, shall we? If you're analyzing a fire, the fire's already out of control. You're done. You've got to know how to operate fast. And that's how I did my real estate in the early days. And I get a wholesale deal done. And it was with a bank-owned property, REO, during the crash when they said you couldn't do it, right? And I made a check for $5,000. And I stood on the sidewalk outside an attorney's office with this check in my hand for $5,000, and two emotions were going through me. One was, "Where's the cops? This has to be illegal," because it was like that was the first one. Yeah. And then I started weeping, bro. I started weeping like a baby because I started thinking about how many hours of my life I'd had to trade for somebody else's money to make $5,000. I used to pray that I could get
as well have been $1 million, right?
Yeah. I used to pray for the phone to ring for an overtime so I could take home an extra $200 a week.
That's right.
And I got $5,000 in my hand. And that was it. Because here's the magic. Once you do it, nobody can tell you can't do it.
Doesn't even matter the dollar amount on there.
No, it doesn't matter.
I have a very
$3,000.
My start was very similar to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was and it was funny enough, it was a joint venture deal. It was a wholesale, but my side of it was $5,000.
Yeah.
And I was like looking at it, the same thing. I'm like, my thoughts were, we were so dire at that time for us that it was this $5,000 is going to be able to supplement the job that I had to be able to. I can breathe for another 2 or 3 months. Yeah. And we had a 3-month-old baby at the time.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my
Yeah.
God, I can feed my family. Like
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
what that was. And then it was like
Yeah.
proof of concept, man. Yeah. So you're
For
doing,
sure.
all right. So you,
If you're a new or newer real estate investor looking to launch or grow your real estate investing business, please check out Investor Fuel Club. It's a coaching community, but unlike anything you've ever seen before. And you can actually partner with members of our mastermind from coast to coast on deals right in your market. There's no better opportunity to build a consistent business than to literally partner with pros to help you avoid costly mistakes, avoid the need for capital to do deals, and help you eliminate your fears as you're starting your business. Learn more about Investor Fuel Club at investorfuel.com/club.
seminar out, you get, back into it, you're doing
Yeah.
it, and then you start.
Yeah.
That's the most, by the way, if anybody's listening, that's the most important lesson is you just start.
Sure. Sure.
Yeah. But
Sure.
keep going though. Continue on.
Yeah. Look, there's a lot of learners out there. There's not a lot of implementers. Let's say
I
that
think a
again.
lot of people think they want to implement, and that's why
Yeah.
they go through the course route, they do all the things
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
there's a difference in motivation and application. Motivation, I can it's fleeting. I might have it today and not tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
It's discipline, right?
Yeah. 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 The
I'm
things
not
I'm not good at.
I mean, a lot of entrepreneurs, by the way, you're
Yeah.
not,
Yeah.
but that's the difference. Like we get motivated and we get hyped up at these seminars and then
Yeah.
I'm going to conquer the world. And then what
Yeah.
happens tomorrow when you wake up and I don't
Yeah.
really feel it anymore.
Yeah. Well, that's what happened to me. I looked around me and there was nobody, none of my classmates were around me.
Yeah.
They all faded away. And it's like, where did you guys go? Like we were all running out of this seminar together, man. We were going to go conquer the world.
Yeah.
I kept going. I made a ton of mistakes. Even with education, I made mistakes because the education wasn't that strong. But what it did was that day that she invested $27,000 on her credit cards for my education, which was our education.
Right.
We bought $27,000 worth of accountability. Because now it's like, I can't talk about it anymore. I got to start doing it.
Gotta do
It's
it.
the doing that works. And look, we went through that period of time. So if you think about, Florida was brutalized. Vegas was brutalized. Cali was brutalized. We took a pretty strong beating up here in Massachusetts, subprime. Everything's going belly up. It was wild, wild west. Nobody knew what a short sale was. Nobody knew what a loan mod was. They didn't know anything. So I'm doing bank cleanouts, and at the same time I'm cleaning them out, I'm buying them. I'm putting them under contract. And I learned how to put investor capital on them, cash.
Mm-hmm.
We learned how to do lease options. We learned how to primarily loan modificate so that the person could stay in the home if possible.
Right.
We learned how to do lease options and swap people in the same street so that they didn't have to move.
Yeah.
Right. We did some good work, and that got recognized and noticed. And by this time,
what year is this at this point?
Mid 9 into 10, maybe around that period of time.
So around that point. Okay.
Yeah, around that time. And during that period of time, I'm now influenced by a totally different group of people. It's not my brothers in the firehouse anymore. It's internet marketers. It's educators. Because the guys who taught me saw that I was doing what I was being taught, saw that I was getting results, and then said, well, why don't you teach? I'm like, you out of your trees? I've never stood in front of a room and taught anything. All right.
Yeah.
You're not. No, they said, Dave, just tell the truth, man. Report the other success. Report the educator's success. I hate the word guru, but report the other guy's success. He said, do you believe that what they've done is true and works? I go, yeah, I've seen it. He said, then report it. So next thing you know, I'm in mastermind groups. I'm getting the influence of like Gary Vaynerchuk was kind of on a periphery somewhere. Russell Brunson was over there in that group. Our friend Matt Andrews was out there. There was some pretty powerful people that through osmosis and connection, I was connected to. And it was Russell Brunson, as we know. ClickFunnels was his business, and he built a massive following, a great business from that. And he sent out an email to a group of maybe 5 or 10 people. I'm going to say 2010, 11. And the email was, "Hey, Dave, you're a funny bastard. You should apply for this reality TV show. This company in New York's looking to do a flip show." He said, "Give it a go, see what happens." So you got to remember, this is a period of time where if you told somebody you were a real estate investor, they immediately would say, "I'm sorry," right? And walk away from you like you had some terminal illness, right? They give you one of those. But anyway, I download a very vanilla application. I've got nothing to lose. And I remember sitting there looking at it going, how on earth am I going to differentiate myself from everybody else? Now, there wasn't a ton of house flipping shows back then. It was just, we were like the first 1 or 2 that came back out. So I'm like, how do I differentiate myself from the rest of the pack? And I started thinking about these marketers and real estate influencers that I've been around. And I remember, I think it was Tony Robbins said, human beings for massive change need what's called a conscious interruption. You got to wake up the consciousness. How do you get past all of the barriers to the little, what is it, Magna Carta, not Magna Carta, the little brain at the back of your head there. They call it the dinosaur brain, the lizard brain. How do you get back there to have an impact? So I just had this feeling that if I loaded up this application with profanity, I think I would get a result. So that's what I did. First line on the application was name of the company, and I wrote, "Go F yourself, LLC," and I just kept going from there.
How Bostonian of you, though.
How Bostonian of me. And I think that's what they liked, because at the bottom it said, "Here's my phone number. Don't call it. You butthole. Don't call me. Just get on a plane, train, or automobile. Stop wasting my effing time." I do real estate the same way we do firefighting. When everybody else goes running out, we go running in. And I said right on the thing, because the real estate market is in the crapper, and I know how to fix it. Don't call me, though. And there was a 212 area code like 15 minutes after I hit send on the application. And I knew it was New York because it was 212. I go, "I thought I told you not to call me." Click. And I hung up the phone.
No, you did not.
I did. And I'm like, "Please call back."
Yeah, right.
Kid
Don't call
called
my
back.
bluff. Don't call my bluff.
Yeah, kid called back. He's laughing his balls off, and he's like, "You're a funny bastard." He says, "I'm not sure if you're a lunatic or a genius." I said, "What's the difference? Come on, let's go, bro." I said, "Let's go. Let's shoot some shit. I know what to do. Let's do this thing. I got characters up the yin-yang." And that's how it started. Next thing you know, we're doing Flipping Boston, and the rest is history.
That's incredible. So that was, back at that point, like the market's still down largely across the country in a lot of places. Yeah. I was not in the business at that point. I know a lot of our mutual friends and peers that were, and talking to them through like what was going on back then. I do, and you had to be like, not you, like in general, you had to be a little crazy to be doing what you were doing, right?
For sure.
Yeah, and I think that's the mark of entrepreneurship. I think we're all a little crazy because nobody would sign up for what we go through, right? If they knew.
I always loved that saying that they'd come up with, and they'd say, I quit my 60-hour work job, right, to be an entrepreneur, so I could work 120 hours, right? But at least I'm now, I own my success, I own my failure, I determine my value in the marketplace.
Yep.
Think about the years, man. We'd sit there waiting for a pay raise, and an annual review and quarterly reviews of some person sitting on the other side of the table. Like, who
somebody
are you
else
to tell me?
Tells you what you're worth.
Yeah. Guy said to me one time, "If you don't pay attention to your money, David," he said, "I promise you somebody else will."
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's been a mantra for many years.
Say that one more time. That's really good.
Yeah, look, if you don't pay attention to your money, I promise you somebody else will.
Yeah, that's good.
Think about that for a second, right? What does that mean? That means, do you have enough courage, consequently confidence through education, to then have the implementation to be the person who focuses on your financial future not allowing somebody else to determine what direction you're going? What would it be like if you didn't have to request a vacation? What would it be like if you didn't have to call in sick somewhere? What would it be like if you could just pack up the family and go for a month and your business still ran without you? What would your life be like? And when I was asked those questions, I could picture and imagine what it would be like. And I've been very blessed to live, aspects of that over the past 15, 16,
Yeah, but it's always
17
been
years.
perfectly easy though, Dave, and you've never had any struggles since. And
Yeah,
and the
yeah.
life of the
Okay.
entrepreneur is rainbows and butterflies, and you're just sitting on
Yeah,
the island drinking Mai Tais all day.
I've got a private jet, I've got a Rolls Royce, and I throw $100 bills into the air every day
See,
until
I
I get
knew it.
sued,
I knew it.
until I get sued by the SEC, and then I go into a heating and air conditioning business instead. Look, man, there's stuff out there. It's not. There's a lot of mistakes that happen in this business.
That's right.
And it's rocky. It's not getting knocked down. It's what you do when you're down. What do? Do you get back up, right?
Yeah.
So getting back up is the hard part. But those are great scars, man. Those are great scars to have. And
They're always found in hindsight, though, right? When you look back on it and you're like, oh man, because in the moment.
Oh yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I mean, we were talking, Dave. We were talking pre-show and some of this a little bit, and in the moment while you're going through stuff, the prayers we pray, that are so like. I mean, maybe give a clip of that because I mean it's really good. What you told me, I was like, I even said, Dave, please send this to me because I need this.
Yeah, no, look, man.
Here's the thing, like when you're going through it, when you're going through it, you don't have the beauty of reflection and when you're in the middle of it.
So I think human nature, right? It's that pain and pleasure component. Yeah. What's more powerful, moving towards pleasure or moving away from pain? And I think business and entrepreneurship is set up with the promise of pleasure. Okay?
Yeah.
When you earn this and do this, this will happen. It's a pleasurable experience that we can feed into. But what they don't talk about are the pain components. When a bank calls a loan, when an investor says they're going to wire money and they don't show up at the closing table and you're left holding the bag. When a contractor decides that his moral standards are not the same as yours, and he's okay absconding with $856,000 worth of bank money that was supposed to have been fed through to the subs that were underneath this guy's control. How do you deal with those things, right? What do you have control over? What do you don't? My caveman says, I'm going to wait in the bushes outside your house and we'll take care of business old school, right? That's how I immediately go, but I can't do that. So one of the things that have been super helpful for me, the past 3-4 years, last year was brutal for so many of us. It really was. Yeah. If you survive to 25, you're a miracle, right? So for me, I try and replace my fear with faith every single day because I don't care who you are. I'm scared, dude. I'm scared. I'm scared of failure. I'm scared of things outside of my control. But fear is a thief. Fear is it's the devil in the corner whispering in your ear, right? The devil whispered in my ear, you can't handle the storm. I whisper back in the devil's ear. This one gets me going. I whisper back in the devil's ear, I am the storm. I'm a man of Christ. I'm a human being. I'm a good guy. Get out of my way. I'm higher powered. So when I can bring that in, I tend to be more present and more powerful in the tougher situations,
I had a mutual friend of ours talking to me recently, talking about some of the stuff we're working through and getting through and stuff. And he said to me this, he said, it's 2025, this day, 2025. How many things have you not gotten through before? How many things has God not brought you through in the past?
Yeah.
You're here, right? So you've gotten through it.
Yeah. Yes.
And that fear, that's just, you went back. It's almost, and I'm excited for you to read that in a second here. But you remember that moment, like you said it earlier, like during the show earlier when you were talking, like you had that time in Lynn at the beach there, and you had that come to Jesus meeting with, like we're going to talk about this, know, and then here you are, fast forward, it's 2025 now, and it's this mindset, this thought that I've been doing this long enough now, I shouldn't have to struggle.
He
And
didn't
I think
promise
that
us that.
now, and that is a hard truth
Yeah,
that
yeah,
I have to face, and that's why I'm really like read this for it like this because when you shared that with me,
yeah.
Dave, it was powerful, man.
So look, I don't know about anybody else, right? I don't hide my faith.
Hmm.
Um, I shared with you prior to the show starting at 23 years old. I was gripped in addiction, man. I brought financial illiteracy and alcoholism with me to the United States as a young guy, and being gripped in the claws of that addiction was tough. And I think for me that was the day that I turned it over and I learned a valuable lesson, and that was to let go and let God.
Yeah.
And being a part of a community that was sober for up to 35 years. In January of this year, I just picked up 35 years of sobriety. And it was like my whole journey has been, the undercurrent has always been faith. However, you determine faith for you. For
Right.
me, it's Jesus Christ and Christianity. For you, it might be the springtime and the flowers coming up. Guy said to me, Dave, you don't have to believe in God, but it's a really good idea that you don't believe you are God. He said, because
Ooh.
when we tend to drive the bus, we don't necessarily follow the chosen path. So most days, either in the morning or at night, I try and add this prayer to my day, and I'll just share it with you. God, direct my thinking today, so that it may be empty of self-pity, dishonesty, self-will, self-seeking, and fear. God, inspire my thinking, decisions, and intuitions. Help me to relax and to take it easy. Free me from doubt and indecision. Guide me through this day and show me my next step. God, show me what I need to do to take care of any problem. I ask all of these things that I may be of maximum service to you and my fellow man. And in the Spirit of Jesus Christ, these are the things that I pray. Amen. What that does for me every day is it
Powerful.
gives me a grounding, dude. If I
Yeah.
if I if I run my life based on ego and self-will and that perpetual, that drive, I can use that drive to help you.
Well, we
If I
tend to
can come
create
on,
these problems, right? These things that we all face
yeah,
are all very
yeah,
real problems, but we tend to think that that we like God, I'm me, it's my problem,
yeah,
me.
yeah,
But
yeah,
what I'd heard, and we talked, is on the back end of that was for you and for my fellow man.
yes, yes,
That's a shift in our problems to think
yeah,
about like getting through this not for me, but for
yeah, yeah,
and you could add into it too for my wife, for my children, for my
yeah,
you could
yeah.
add into that too, man, that's yeah.
Something that's helped me, and I got it from a mentor one time, was when I'm in the troubled space, right? When I'm in a darker season
Mhm.
and everything feels negative or a challenge.
Mhm.
He said you can rephrase contextually anything that you face in life, anything.
Yeah,
He said, instead of I have to fill in the blank, he said, try this. I get to
I get to.
fill in the blank. Think about that for a second. I get to go to war for my investors
Yes.
to save their principal and grow their capital. I get to be on this cool conversation with you, right? I
Yeah.
get to share our experience. I get to know you better.
It shifts you into gratefulness, doesn't it?
Oh, attitude of gratitude, my brother.
Yeah.
Attitude of
I
gratitude.
was listening to another podcast and they were talking about the only way through some of these dark things is gratitude.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
the dark things, they're real. Like not to, maybe we project what we think is going to happen in the future that we just have no idea, which is what
Yeah.
leads to the anxiety and all the
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the reason we're thinking about it is for problems that exist that are absolutely real
Mm-hmm.
things.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And the only
Mm-hmm.
way to I'm a work in progress, right? But it's gratitude, daily
I'm a
gratitude.
sinner.
Like,
I'm a sinner. The flesh is strong. You
you
know what
know,
I mean? I'm like, just take this. I'm not big enough to carry it. Yeah, and,
yeah.
and here's the other thing too. I think there are, like the life experiences. I think, from making the first fire and breaking the first rock and carving it into a wheel and the progression of man, that's been a push by man.
Yeah.
And I think about that today and I say, what if I didn't face the day like I was pushing a donkey up a hill? What if I just let the donkey roll down the hill? Let it go. Let the donkey roll down the hill. And then look up the hill to see what's next. Because if I'm pushing that donkey up the hill, that's God saying, what are you doing, dude? Stop pushing the donkey. Stop it. But the amount of effort that goes into pushing that donkey, I think there's a lot more effort in my younger years than there are now in my later years. Like I can recognize it quicker. I think that's the
That's
the power
wisdom, by the way.
Wisdom, mentorship, experience, failures. More power in a failure than there is in success. More knowledge and wealth and positivity coming out of a failure than there is in a success. So being able to prioritize the people around me and those that depend upon me over me, brings me peace. If I can exalt him and devalue me, my life seems to go better. It seems better. It just is.
Yeah, that's incredible. I want one like a little short scripture, and then we'll do a transition here. But I'd be remiss if I didn't at least. There's a scripture in the Bible that says, do not be anxious about anything, and instead, in prayer with what? Thanksgiving. That's the gratitude part. Make your request known before the Lord, and then what? The peace of God will come, right? And I think that's what we all go when we're struggling. What we go through is in search of that peace, because that's where we're struggling. It's like, well, I don't have peace right now, and we're like, oh my God, and we're searching, So like that's the prescription is pray about everything with thanksgiving. Like that's I'm good at. Here's another thing is I'm really good at praying about the problem. I'm not really good about having Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
And that's that. I mean, but it's a combination. You can't do one without the other. But if you do that, then peace.
It's a formula.
And so
it's a formula.
And it's like, man, how dumb am I sometimes, right? like I have the answer, and I don't do it. So
thy will be done, not mine. Remove the bondage of self. It's so simple in the saying. It's so hard in the doing.
It's hard to walk it out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's transition a little bit here. Today it's 2025. What are you guys working on now? Because you did, you did Flipping Boss, and I think we talked. It's like 4 years. How many episodes was it?
29 episodes. Yeah.
29. Yeah. Incredible. I mean, that's what puts Dave on the map. That's what gets you.
Yeah.
And that was incredible. Like, what today though? What are you doing now? What is it? What is
it's interesting. The show ended. There's that period of like, okay, what's next? And the show only ended because of some legal challenges with the IP of flipping houses. Had nothing to do with us. Like it all changed. But anyway, I've always stayed in real estate. Went back to flipping houses. Did some beautiful deals. Actually flipped a house across the cul-de-sac from where I live. Stayed in the game, stayed in the people, stayed in the contractors. Had a nice hard money lending business, 16 million in the pipe. That business went belly up in 48 hours during COVID because I was working off of a line of credit from a company on Wall Street, and we were just ripping notes. Like we generate the loans, we make money on the spread, and then they'd sell the notes back to the secondary markets. And then when COVID hit, no QM lending, no non-owner occupied lending. We're out, and then I'm done. So, because of my years traveling in education, like you and I are talking now because of the common people we know in the education spaces, right? Business owners who like to educate as well. And I went to a partner of mine, Walter Novicki's out of Fort Myers, and he'd been doing syndicated assets, commercial, multifamily, either ground up construction or repositioning. He'd raise money, 506c Reg D, SEC compliant, blah, blah, blah. And he and I got together and he's like, I've been doing onesies, twosies my whole career. What if we use that guy from the TV show, that flipping Boston guy over there? Maybe we can use that as a marketing funnel and raise capital. And that's where we're at today. So,
Very cool.
we have a $26 million multifamily asset that's just coming to completion now in Cape Coral. It's
Wow. Beautiful.
5 buildings, 106 units. We build for what we call the Miss Middle. So you know this, you're a Floridian. Most of the market is so spread, right? You've got 3,500 up in rent for the fancy condo on the golf course. And then you've got, 1,500 and down, which is an asset that probably not many people
1 mile away, right? Yeah.
Yeah, 1 mile away that you don't want to live in. So what we looked at was what's the need in the market for the Miss Middle, so the workforce housing. So we build 2-bed, 2-bath, about 1,000 square foot units. They rent for about $1,750 to $1,900. Yeah. Because they're A-class assets, but they're B tenants, right? They're not people who are paying that $3,500. The investors are coming in expecting anywhere from a 2.5 to a 3 equity multiple on their capital, which is a nice investment for them. So we've got that going on. We're about to build a pickleball facility on McGregor Boulevard.
Nice.
We're just going into contract on another 110 units, higher end units on a piece of land. We're doing a JV with a builder and a landowner. That'll be a really, really nice project.
That's really cool. Yeah.
I got 13 units in West Palm Beach. I've got other stuff under agreement. It's a busy time. It's a busy time, but it's challenging. It really is. It's tough keeping everything abreast, right? Staying on top of the demons that can come knocking at the door.
Well, Yeah. So at our church, like our pastor says from pulpit all the time, until you're going through, you don't tend to think about these things. Is you're either it's seasonality, right? You're either coming out of the valley, you're in the valley, or you're going through it. Like you go in, out, or through, right?
Yeah.
And there's always it's always that,
Yeah.
And then I don't hate it at all. I'm proud of it. To bring one more passage into it that sticks to that for us is it's classically, you've heard it a million times. Even if you're not like a Christian, you've heard this one. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. But what that says is, it doesn't say that though I have to go around the valley.
Yeah. U-turn.
You got to go through it, right?
Yeah.
So the way out is never around; it's through it. So
it's always through.
And then it says, I don't have to fear because he's with me. And that's, again, these are good things to speak out of our mouth to get through it, but it doesn't make it easy as we're going through it, right?
No.
But what you're doing though, Dave, 106 units here, you're doing this, you aren't letting that fear allow you to quit.
It's not an option.
That's the mindset though. It's not an option. And that to me is like the most beautiful thing I can see is just like, my gosh, man, like it's an inspiration to those of us that are, I'm looking at you as this is somebody to look up to. You're somebody worth following. You're somebody that's a leader in our space. But good leadership doesn't say I don't have problems like you. It says I'm having problems just like you, and I'm going through it. And quitting isn't there. That's good leadership, and you're exemplifying that practically, even as we're talking.
Tell me how you feel about this. Ready?
Yeah.
So I'm in group last night. The house that I flipped on the other side of my cul-de-sac, by the way, 5 years after I flipped it, ended up getting purchased by our local pastor at our church, which is in a mall, right? Up here. So we're in group Thursday night, small community group from our church. And Travis, our pastor, he's a hot ticket. He's a Floridian. He passed out these cards. They had used it at church in a staff setting. And basically the card is some scripture and then a question that relates to you about this scripture. And I'll paraphrase the scripture. It was Mark 5:16, I think. But basically, shine your light upon the world, spread this message so that people can
Right.
receive it, right, and live in the goodness. And then the question was if your life was a Bible, would your Bible have many followers?
Oof.
Right, right. So it did the same thing to me. I'm bawling in group last night, and here's to your point, right, through the valley. If you read my Bible, Dave Seymour's Bible, I think there will be followers. You just said it. I look up to you to follow you here. Good guy, good business, good education. In my sobriety journey, I've helped probably hundreds of men stay sober, regain their lives, just following what I learned from guys who have been sober 45, 50 years ahead of me. But the but is this. My internal Bible doesn't match my external Bible, right? How I feel, right? Like I don't feel worthy, right? It's such a paradox, man. It's like it's so twisted around. Like somebody can come up to me after 5 years. Hey, Dave, I heard you speak here 5 years ago. You changed my life. Look what I've done since then. Right. And you go, wow, that's awesome. Like the dopamine hit, the good feelings out of it. And yet inside me, there's a little voice that goes, you're full of crap, Dave. It just is. But when I'm in it and going through it, to your description, when I'm going through, I need him. I need him when I'm not going through it. But it's like, my yoke is, my yoke is light. Let me carry the burden. It's like sometimes you're just forced into giving that up. So I try very hard to have gratitude for myself as much as I do for other people. Like, I'm grateful for this conversation. It's going to set me up for the day, right?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But can I be grateful? Can I find joy and goodness in myself? Because I'm the other half of the conversation that I'm enjoying. You know what I mean? Am I making sense or am I off my rocker? You get it, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and Dave, this is the worst thing to do is we have to kind of transition on towards a close of the show.
It's all good.
Because we could keep doing this forever. I know that.
Okay. It's all good.
But guys, I want you to go back and listen to. There's wisdom that's coming out right now, not just thought progressions and things that we're just talking about.
It's not foo-foo. Yeah.
So please really go back and re-listen to some of these things because, Dave, you're not just talking to me right now. Like you're speaking to hundreds of people that are listening that are like, yeah, me too. And there's some peace in knowing that like I'm not alone on this battle and this journey and things like that, right? There really is.
There it is. Yes.
I'm not the worst flipper on the planet. I'm not the the big bad guy that people are like. It's tough. And that's okay. But guess what you said? And I'll kind of wrap it with this is I get to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that is the shift. God's entrusted me with the ability to tackle this and I get to do this.
Yes.
Because when we come out of it, and we will, there will be the only way we could have gotten through that. And I think sometimes we go through these things because the only way to get through that is sometimes, so from my faith perspective is, I couldn't have done it without God. And sometimes I think he just wants us to know, like, you can't do this without me.
Yeah.
I tried it. And we talked pre-show about that. We talked pre-show. I was like, I just put my head down and worked on it. You have to ask anyway. But Dave, if people do want to reach out to you, follow you in some way, what's the best way for that to happen?
Yeah, look, you can grab me on LinkedIn. Dave Seymour, just Google my name on LinkedIn. That's always a great platform to chat. Freedomventure.com is our website, freedomventure.com. You can call the phone number, 781-922-4418. Just let them know that, you heard us having a chat on this podcast. And I'm happy to help. I mean, when I sit with just myself for a sponsor, I'm sitting with a fool for a sponsor. I need you. I need other people. I need to be challenged. I need to challenge others. And we can only do that through good communication with each other and put each other first. Put each other first, man. It works.
Yeah. And guys, I said it a little bit ago and I'll say it again. Reach out, like find him, LinkedIn, find the platform. He's a leader worth following. And, you know, I know you won't be disappointed to do so. But yeah, Dave, man, a pleasure talking with you. I wish we could just keep this going. This has been great.
Appreciate
Guys,
you, brother. Much
rewind
love.
it back, listen to this 10,000 times over, get this in your inside of you, because the lessons that are being taught here are going to help you walk through the difficult things ahead. So, Dave, again, man, pleasure having you. Guys, be sure to check us out on the next episode, and we'll talk to you soon. Take care, everybody.
Thanks for joining us for today's Real Estate Pros Show. You can learn more about the amazing benefits of the Investor Fuel Mastermind community, including surrounding yourself with hundreds of other rock stars, 100% financing for your deals, and members-only discounts from vendors you're likely already using that, as a member of Investor Fuel, will save you more than the cost of your membership. Visit investorfuel.com to learn more. If you're interested in joining us as a guest of this show, please visit investorfuel.com/pros to apply. You can also check the show notes for access to free resources, how to get access to world-class lead generation, and much more. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another episode. Have a great day. We'll see you on the next show.